survivors of the massacre there 10 years ago, addressing those who've gathered to commemorate the events of the day. Survivors calling for answers relating to who sent the police to shoot them. They also want President Ramaphosa to come and address them, and for the day to be declared to a public holiday. Our reporter Malungelo Booi is there for us now. Malungelo, good afternoon to you. We've seen various speakers there through the day. What's been the main message of this occasion?
Well, Stephen, we've heard really from a number of people, from those who survived the massacre to the widows of those who died, including politicians who've come to this commemorative event. Essentially, Stephen, what is coming out from the many people that have already taken to the podium is the longing really for justice. People here want to see those that in fact were mentioned in the Falam Commission report to actually be brought to book, but also they've also spoken about how they want President Cyril Ramaphosa, who at the time, Stephen, was also implicated. It was said that he had sent a communique to some of the officials that action must be taken in order to stop what was taking place at the time. One of the survivors of the Marikana massacre saying that justice to him would be to see President Cyril Ramaphosa going to jail. In fact, Mzokolo Madingwana went as far as to say, Stephen, he wants to see President Cyril Ramaphosa going to jail, and former President Jacob Zuma should in fact be the state witness in that case, considering the fact that he was the president when the Marikana massacre took place. And of course, we've also heard from the widows. They too, Stephen, calling for justice. In fact, one of the widows went as far as to say she will only be at peace when the people that ordered the killing of her husband, she sees those people being dressed in orange overalls. But also, Stephen, we've heard those that are attending this commemorative event again reiterating what they've spoken about 10 years ago, the need for this day to be a public holiday, but also for where we are to be, for a monument to be erected in order to honor and remember those 34 mine workers who were gunned down by the police. Of course, there were also words from politicians, including UDM leader Bantu Olumisa, who said actually justice in South Africa, especially for those who are seeking it in relation to the Marikana massacre, will only come once, the ANC is out of power, and also, Stephen, called on political parties to work together to ensure that happens. Stephen.
And Malungelo, I mean, I can't imagine the mood. There must be anger, there must be deep pain, there must be sorrow. 10 years on, and so many of these wounds created by Marikana have not even started to heal.
That's right, Stephen. There is a sense of anger, really, when you speak to some of the mine workers here, including the people, Stephen, that live here in Marikana, because they're saying that since that incident, there's been little change in their community. And of course, one of the people who also spoke is Bishop Paul Verreyn. That's the man that we know in South Africa who's actually stood up for, in terms of social justice, Stephen. He said, in fact, that driving around here in Marikana, he's pained by seeing that there's little progress in this particular area. This is something that you hear, Stephen, when you talk to people who also stay here. But what is also evident, in fact, when you drive around Marikana, there's an informal settlement that's known as Nganini. One thing that I can tell you, Stephen, about that informal settlement, that it has grown over the years, and that's one of the things that, those who have taken to the podium have decried.
And Malungelo, I mean, have people given up on hopes for justice there? They talk about nothing changing 10 years later. It must be tempting to think justice will never come.
Stephen, one thing, the people are clear about here, Stephen, especially one of the survivors, he said to me that not to me necessarily, but when he was addressing, the crowd, saying that all he wants to see, Stephen, and what will give him peace is seeing President Cyril Ramaphosa going to jail. Whether that will happen, Stephen, really is anyone's guess. But what has been interesting is hearing the people saying the same thing over and over for the past 10 years. And even today, they're still talking about the same thing. Whether they'll get what they're calling for, really, time will tell.
Malungelo Booi, thank you very much indeed for your live coverage of the Marikana commemorations. Meanwhile,